order. Board members are present. I believe Supervisor Sheehan is going to call in. Has she come out anywhere?
Not yet that I've
Yeah.
seen.
All right. We have a quorum. Sign-up sheets being passed around. Any county board supervisors that want to be paid for this meeting, please just indicate on the sheets. Number 3, review and take action on the resolution authorizing the issuance and providing for the sale of $9,165,000 general obligation promissory notes series 2022B for county highway projects. This is brought back by Supervisor Barris for our discussion. The number has changed, was changed on the resolution to 10 million.
Mr. Frohling, we can't hear back here. Can the microphone be put on?
They're on. The switch is on. Turn it on. Is the green light on your baby?
Green light is on.
See this? Be through the cabinet.
Do you need to press the buttons? Yeah, it's not on the back. What do you mean it's not?
This one's green.
Maybe you just need talking to us? No, it's not on. Yeah, I can't hear that all. It's not on.
Yes, is on.
Yeah, they're green, but they're not
Testing.
working. They're not amplifying.
Yeah, you're not hearing anything different.
No.
Somewhere there's a switch.
I'll make a call.
Try talking into the
Hello.
Oh,
Here we are.
Thank you.
All right. That's much better.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. This was brought forward by Supervisor Barris, and I guess at this point I would allow Supervisor Barris to explain why we're here. Is the handheld one working, that we can just take that over there, Brian? Yeah, you want to get that, Brian?
Test it. Okay. I guess with this being such a big issue, being an issue that affects the whole county, I just feel as though we haven't had the representation of the elected supervisors from the whole county to vote on this issue. And I really believe that it's more of an attendance issue than anything. And I'd like to have the whole county speak on this, if not speak on it, but vote on it. Because I feel as though we've had some attendance problems, and I think that with an issue as big as this, this is going to affect the whole county. I think it's very important that we get the impact from all the elected officials within the county, and we, in my mind, we haven't had the attendance. And that's why my mentality is to bring this thing back and try to get attendance there and get to put this thing either up or down and let the vote speak for itself. So that's where I'm thinking on this.
Okay. Questions, comments from the committee?
Well, I guess the last one, for certain, I guess both of them, really, I agree with Supervisor Barris. Really, it was about the votes, the no votes, because of the people that weren't in attendance. It wasn't for the people that voted no that really, that affected us. It was the people that weren't there, so maybe we owe it to the entire county board to let everybody weigh in and make a decision on this thing one final time. We still have quite favorable interest rates, and goodness knows we have projects that need to be done. most of which are ready because we expected back in January, we were gonna get the go-ahead to move this thing forward, and those projects are ready to go, so maybe we deserve, the entire board deserves to make a decision on this.
Kathy, did you want to speak?
I did.
From the board member?
I'll come and take the microphone. Thank you. Did you turn it off? Thank you. As far as letting everyone vote, they had the right to come to those meetings and vote. It was their choice, they weren't at that meeting. So I don't think we need to do it again, and we just voted down half that amount. And they could have been at that meeting. So to say that everybody deserves the right to vote, they had the right to vote, and they chose not to. I know some had other circumstances, I get that, but they weren't there. And so I had calls thanking me for voting no, and you kind of all know where I stand anyways. And I have a problem having this special meeting after you just had a meeting yesterday to bring this back. I think this is plain silliness. How many times are we going to do this? Are we going to bring it back every month until it passes? There's lots of bills that don't pass that we want it to pass, and ones that I wanted to pass. But if they're voted down, they're voted down. And we have to stand like, okay, it's done. Bring it back again next year, or whatever. But I think this is silly to bring it back again, and I think we're just wasting the time of the people who put this together. And the resolution that was in the packet did not say 10 million like this says today, and I don't know how that is, if you can bring it back with a different number, but it was full of mistakes. It had different amounts of money every place. So it sort of looked like it was sort of just haphazardly thrown together. I looked, part of it was from what we voted on in January of last year, and then part of it was what was in December, because I went back and looked at those. So the drafts were all different, and you just sort of, there was one number here, and one number here, and one number here, and they were all different, within $10,000 of each other. So it was not put together well for this meeting for you to have. Now, I know that now you have a different one in front of you, but I just think this is silliness.
Any other county board members that would like to speak?
Either of you want to speak? Otherwise, I'll turn it off.
Dennis?
Oh, Dennis is going to talk, so I'll turn it back on.
Number one, Supervisor Harris does have the right to bring this back. He presented it to the Finance Committee, that's why it's special. I agree with Mr. Barris, Supervisor Barris, that having full county board there would be the thing to do. My thought was when this happened that either those members aren't paying attention and they need to. I've gotten calls, how can we just have 3 people vote against something and it gets turned down? They don't understand the 2/3 majority, whatever. But I agree with Supervisor Barris that this should come up.
Well, I've got the same call. How can somebody vote, how can you vote something down when only 3 people voting no? I think, the people being absent definitely have an effect, but I guess I don't know why, or if they had a good reason for being absent, and that's not my problem. I think they should have gotten a vote on an issue like this. We did it last year when we had COVID, we let people call in and vote. We should have done the same thing here if they couldn't get there.
If it's the responsibility of this committee to just see if this is actuarially an okay resolution, I'd say it's okay. I don't like the idea that this is a third whack at the same kind of thing. As much as I know that we need to fix the roads, I've been on a couple of these roads recently, and I know we need to fix them, but I object to the fact that this is being brought back for a third time to vote basically on the same issue, and that it will also now take an amendment to our budget to change this. So I will not put my name on this.
Jeff?
I guess, the last time, there probably, what happened, changing the meeting date, I think affected a number of the people that would have been there that had other commitments on Wednesday that they just could not get out of. I think that was something, changing the meeting date probably had an effect on the outcome of that vote because of the fact that the Tuesday meeting was canceled and moved to Wednesday. Other people had other commitments, serving on other boards, and just couldn't get there.
Okay. Kim, you have a comment?
I just want to, two comments. One is this on?
No.
Okay.
Give it a minute.
Based on the short notice for this meeting, this meeting was actually requested, and the request came forward from Supervisor Barris on Monday. I will take responsibility for the draft resolution that got in your packet. At that time, it was not clear the amount, because we had not had a chance to consult with Ehlers with regard to the cost of a borrowing. So a draft resolution was put together. The basis for the draft resolution that was in the packet was a compilation. It was, you can see, a combination of the first borrowing resolution as well as a second borrowing resolution. That the content of it is the same, the number was different. The resolution before you tonight, today, this afternoon, is a $10 million borrowing resolution that was after consultation with Ehlers this afternoon. And they are present. They did a pre-sale report, which has been handed out, and they are available if the committee wanted to have a presentation by Ehlers regarding the $10 million.
Maybe you want to hear from Ehlers as long as they're on? Are you there, Phil, or?
Actually, it's Joe.
Joe, okay. Hi, Joe. You're muted, Joe.
I don't think he's muted, we just can't hear him.
I think we're muted here.
We're going to change on our end, Joe.
Oh.
Eileen, are you running this? You have to unmute.
I have to unmute him. Okay,
At the
gotcha.
volume.
How's that?
Put your volume up.
I have full volume.
It's not muted up there, Kim.
It's not being run by that computer.
Yeah, it's on my computer.
Can you go under, how did he get into the meeting?
Through, my calendar. Right here.
You can, Karen?
Karen, can hear him in there, so.
Oh, that's weird.
No.
Oh. My name's trying
So go back into the meeting. There should,
Is this meeting? Okay.
there should be a way to, like, find him as a participant.
Oh. No, there, that one.
And then, go into the three dots.
Oh, that's, I'm muted.
No, he's muted.
Oh,
It's not highlighted.
there we go.
Okay. No,
Oh, well, we can't.
maybe he,
Can you hear us, Joe?
Is IT still around? Probably not. Yeah, it's not muted, that's what doesn't make sense. Is he coming back in?
He's going out and coming back.
Yeah.
Can you go into? Okay, then.
There it is.
Not again.
Usually they come in themselves.
He's showing offline.
See, now he's muted again. I can hear him fine now, we know Mackenzie.
Yeah, we can hear it.
I just asked her too, if, do you know how to do it? Just hanging.
Is there a way under here for sound or something like under
Page 7 shows.
Eileen, she's asking if the speaker on the right-hand corner is muted.
No,
Call them by the phone.
all right, okay.
can you pull up the number?
1 minute, please. I should. 262-796-6196.
You got the documents, you don't need the video.
Okay.
Send an email, tell me it's
Tell them to take the phone.
Good afternoon, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
There we go. Amen.
Okay, I'm gonna have to turn my microphone for the meeting. Well, actually, I'll just leave that to limit the need for any reverberation. So I may not hear, questions from the committee members, but, I'm Joe Craig from Ellis. Bill is about to get on an airplane to fly back from Arizona, so I've been filling in for him the last couple of days on the county. You should have a hard copy of my pre-sale report that we pulled together. I did hear the conversation that was going on ahead of time. This is a larger borrowing than it was original. Indications from the county highway commissioner is that costs are going up, and so rather than limiting it to $9 million for the highway project, this resolution will up to $10 million, and that would increase the amount of money available for highway projects up to $9,829,000. So it's a larger increase in amount of money to try to undertake these projects. It is proposed to be financed as a general obligation, the county's 5% limit, equalized value that you have an outstanding debt. With this issue, the county would have just over $57 million of GO debt outstanding. So you have plenty of capacity. You have almost $350 million more that you could borrow for other projects. It's being structured as a 10-year promissory note that would be callable after 6 years. One thing to note is about this issue that's a little different than other issues the county has is that it is not going to qualify for being, it will not be bank qualified. You can only issue up to $10 million a year on a tax exempt basis, and the county already did that with the refunding that you approved earlier. So this means that banks cannot hit on it and get the same sort of tax break. So you're losing some potential investors by not being bank qualified, which means rates are a little higher for that as well. The county does have a AA2 rating. We would plan to go back and get that rating affirmed. We think it will generate more interest interest and better interest rates. The structure is to provide an interest-only payment in August of 2022. Principal payments will not, begin until 2023 and run through 2032. The impact for what that would mean is that it would, starting in 2023, the debt service tax levy will increase by about 15 cents per thousand. The impact on a $195,000 house means it's going to increase their tax bill by roughly $28.61. It was noted earlier by the committee that interest rates are low. They have risen dramatically since the end of 2021, but they are still low, relatively low, just not as good as they were. We're projecting that this would come in at a true interest cost of roughly 2.49%. So that's still relatively cheap money. The goal is that everything were to proceed and get the 3/4 vote approval from the board on March 15th, that we would quickly turn around to pull together the official statement, et cetera, and do the sale on Tuesday, April 19th for your board meeting on that night. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions from the committee? Questions from other board members? Hearing none, Joe?
Okay?
Okay, are we ready to, I guess we have a couple of things here. One is the request for us to sign on. The other option is for us just to sign the fiscal note. I think Supervisor Barris can bring the resolution himself, but it's not the way we would normally do it. But this what's the committee's thoughts here.
I don't think this is fiscally responsible, so.
Because I think there ought to be a chance, I move we sign on it.
I'll second.
I have a motion to sign on. Further discussion?
And it just, like I say, this deal with moving the meeting is what really affected the vote the last time, and I think had it not been moved, I think the outcome could have been different, and I think we owe it to all the supervisors to weigh in on this.
Further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Jim?
I understand some of this discussion about the absences, but, the reality is there's no guarantee next Tuesday, if the intent is to have the full board, there's no guarantee you're going to have a full board on Tuesday. There's no guarantee of that. And I believe it's already confirmed of 2 absences on Tuesday. So I think it's, there's been a lot of discussion on the absences, but, the reality just comes down to what we heard on the borrowing and the statements made about is it fiscally responsible to go this route. That's really the issue, not the absences. And what's happened in the past is what's the correct path forward. And the Highway Committee has already developed a plan for 2022, and they've already submitted, or should be submitting, a couple of requests through ARPA for projects that they agreed to last week. So, there's plans in place for road improvements without this. Will it be as high a number? No, but there's a plan in place for 2022 that's been endorsed by the Highway Committee and also an ARPA presentation that was endorsed by the Highway Committee last week as well. So I'm somewhat surprised about this request, and I understand the county board allows this to be brought by a supervisor, but the committee process has provided a different path, and the committee process is very important.
I guess I didn't realize what's already happened in the other highway committee and the ARPA funds. So I'm going to withdraw. I guess we just approve the fiscal note.
Okay, you're withdrawing your motion? Okay. Okay, anyway, I guess the option would then be to approve a fiscal note that, and a motion to that effect. And, fiscal note would be, if there's 9,000 in the adopted budget, it would change it by, or 9 million in the adopted budget, it would change the budget by $1 million if this is approved. And it's just a note to the board. We wouldn't be changing it at this point. Note to the board what the effect is.
Well, that's the fiscal note. We're not voting to approve the fiscal note?
Yes.
I'll move.
Okay. And a motion to approve the fiscal note.
I'll second.
Jeff, any other discussion on the fiscal note?
Could you explain it again, please?
There is currently $9 million in the budget that was factored into the budget when we did the budget. We were expecting a $9 million borrowing. So if this would be approved and the borrowing was approved, which we would have to adjust the budget by $1 million, adding in another $1 million of projects.
Both on the revenue side and the expenditure.
Revenue and expenditure, right. Okay. All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. With that, we will declare the meeting adjourned.